Hey there, this is Heather with TwoLooms.com, and in this Lightroom tutorial, I'm going to show you how to edit photos using only Lightroom brushes. I'm going to also show you just a couple of the basic panel adjustments just to enhance a photo without using presets. So this is what we're going to be ending with today. I'm going to show you my entire editing steps to get from this picture to this picture. Okay, so when I start editing all of my pictures, I always apply a little bit of sharpening. So I'm going to come down to the detail panel and just sharpen it up a little bit, add a little masking, and that's good. So basically what I would do next is come over to my preset panel. I'm really in love with my Life in Color collection. I use this for about 90% of my work. But as you can see, as I'm scrolling over, you can see the previews over here. These are kind of dramatic. You can see that the lighting is very flat. I think I took this about 3 hours before sunset in the shade, so you can kind of see the highlights on his skin. He's a darker skinned kid, just has that pretty olive skin. So when I go to apply the preset, it really blows out his skin and makes him look muddy, and I don't want that. So let's just delete, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Let's just go back to my history because my button wasn't working. Okay, so instead of applying presets, I'm just going to do some basic adjustments because I don't want to muddy up his skin. I just want to, this straight out of camera image is already looking good. I just need to give it a little bit more pop. So I want to really bring out the red in this brick and add a little bit of adjustments to the basic panel to make him pop. So I'm going to come over here to my adjustment brush. And I've already created this brush to go over the brick. I named it Barn Red, and you can see all of my adjustments that I selected over here. I decreased the exposure because I want the red to really be deep. You can see the color down here actually looks like a pink, but you'll find that the darker colors that you choose up here are going to be really, really dark and vibrant and not necessarily something that you want. I also increased my shadows a bit, just so everything doesn't get too dark. And I'm just going to go over this entire picture. I'm just scrolling on my mouse to make my brush bigger. I'm just going to go over this really quick. Be very careful about going around his head, and I can always mask that off too. And I'll show you how to do that as well. So even if you get a little bit on your subject, like on his arm there, I'll show you how to mask that off. And I'm just going over the entire area. So that just really makes the brick pop and look even better than it did before. Okay, so I'm going to, since I made this little mistake over here, I'm going to come over here to the erase brush, and I'm just going to decrease, or I'm going to make my brush smaller and just go over this area. I'm also going to go over like the lining of his face, just to make sure I didn't get any of his skin with that red. And you can take your time doing this. You can, scroll in if you want to see, like, I think that's just his natural color on his face. Okay, so that should do it. And I'm going to click done. Actually, before I click done, I'm going to show you if I were to since this is selected right now, I'm going to go back over to the regular brush, and I'll just show you really quick like what it's going to look like if I were to hover over a darker color. You see how crazy that gets. So really choosing a light color down here is all that you need. These really dark colors are just really, really bold and not necessarily something that you want. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to close it out and hit done. And there is a slight variation between this photo and this. It's because I changed my brush on that last one. But this is looking really good. Like I said, the straight out of camera was really looking good to begin with. So I'm just going to add a little bit of blacks just to make his just to make the detail stand out a little bit more. Maybe add a little bit of whites, tiny bit of contrast, and maybe tinge of vibrance, and that's really all that I need. And I could go back in here and I could work on these shadows on his face if I wanted to, but really just those brushes really enhance the photo without it being too dramatic and crazy with a preset. Most of my presets have a lot of tone curve variations in them, so this just keeps it all night looking good without adding any kind of extra editing that it doesn't need to be done. So there you have it. There's how you can edit your photos just using brushes. If you have a really great straight out of camera image and you don't want to do a lot, but you just want to add a little bit, you can just go in there with your brushes and play around with it and see what you come up with. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you found it useful, and make sure you check out more of my tutorials and future tutorials coming up. So I will see you guys in a bit.